Hey guys, Michelle from Michelle's Craft Corner here, and in today's video we're going to be making this fun sunflower Z-fold card using the new Painted Harvest stamp set. Let's get started! So here is a close-up of our awesome Z-fold card that we're going to be making today. Now it's called Z-fold because of that fun Z-fold shape that allows it to fold flat and still fit in an envelope. And I absolutely love how this one turned out. I think it'd be a great gift for anybody. So very happy. This is featuring the new Painted Harvest stamp set, which is definitely one of my favorites in the new catalog. Now this is a two-step sunflower, so we've got two different things to stamp on top, so a more bold background, then a more detailed piece on top. Now this is available as a bundle in the new holiday catalog, coordinating with this awesome leaf punch right here, which we're also going to be using for these leaves. Besides this amazing stamp set, we're also going to be using today the hardwood stamp set for that wonderful fence wood grain texture. I absolutely love this one. We're going to be using the clear mount, but it is also available in wood as well. And besides this, we're going to be using a couple different colors of paper. For our background, we're going to be doing the Dapper Denim cardstock. For our leaves, we're going to be using some Pear Pizzazz, so just a scrap. For our fence, we're going to be doing the Crumb Cake cardstock. And then we're also going to be using some Very Vanilla for our sentiments and also to stamp out our sunflowers. Now for ink, let's drop that. For ink for stamping those gorgeous sunflowers, I really loved doing the combination of Daffodil Delight and Crushed Curry, but I have to admit I kind of went a little overboard in playing with this set. I did myself some fun cheat sheets with different colors I had on hand to kind of see what colors I liked the best. So if you get this set, I really recommend doing one of these for yourself using the colors that you have. I did it in both Whisper White and Very Vanilla so I could see the slight difference in colors with the two. And I really liked the Crumb Cake in the center for the lighter shades of yellow, and the Early Espresso for the center of the darker ones. But I'll take pictures and post these on my site. Let me move that off to the side. So those are the two yellows, but of course you could do any other colors. And then we're also going to be using some Pear Pizzazz for those leaves, some Early Espresso to stamp the fence, and then also some Crumb Cake for some light sponging just around our sentiments. Alright, you guys got all of that? So before we get started, one other thing I wanted to tell you about is this awesome suite also has this gorgeous set of designer series paper that coordinates with it, and I really absolutely love this, including it has this wonderful sheet that has sunflowers on it. So if you didn't want to go the stamp route, you could also fussy cut these sunflowers to make a very similar card to the one we're making. And I wanted to show you another example, but this is just a gorgeous set, designer series paper, front to back, 6 different designs, double-sided, 12 sheets. It's awesome. But let me show you this other card too using that paper. So this is just those printed sunflowers cut out, and then this cat is from some of the holiday Halloween paper. So just another version of the same card. Okay, so let's move on to our measurements. So first off, we're going to take our piece of Dapper Denim. Move this off to the side here. Okay, so this piece of Dapper Denim was cut at 4 1/4 by 11. I just got a different sheet to show you guys. And so you can get 2 different card bases out of one sheet of 8 1/2 by 11. And then I scored it twice, and those score marks are at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Okay, so that is for your Dapper Denim card base. All right, besides those measurements, we're also going to cut our very vanilla pieces. These are for our little sentiments at 1 1/2 by 2 and 2 1/2. So those are two. Please ignore my scratchings. I'm recycling. Okay, so those are two very vanilla pieces for our sentiment. You're going to need a pretty large piece for your sunflowers. Now for our fence, and this is with the crumb cake as well, it's going to be the exact same scoring marks, but instead of cutting it at the 4 1/2, we're only going to cut it at 2 1/2. So it's not going to be the full length. So it's just about a half. You can go smaller if you want or a little taller, but 2 1/2 is a really good height for that fence. But the markings for scoring it are going to be just the same. Okay? Yeah, it's got all of that. All right, so we're going to start by stamping our fence pattern down first. Put these off to the side. And of course for that we're going to use this awesome hardwood stamp set. I love this stamp set. I've been using it a lot. And the Early Espresso ink. Now when stamping with a really big stamp set, it's really a lot easier if you take and add the ink pad to the stamp instead of the stamp to the ink pad. You can see exactly where you're inking. Now since this is not a very long piece, you don't really have to ink up the whole thing, so we're just going to do just about a third or a half of that. Take it, line it up, press it down, try not to shake the camera. Go. So just like that, we do that a couple extra times and we're going to have our awesome fence pattern. It's okay if you overlap or if you want to stamp it a couple extra times. This wood pattern is just very forgiving. Okay. There you go. There we've got our wonderful wood texture. Stick that off to the side here. Then I'm going to go ahead and get my paper snips. Now, this is another thing we're going to be using an awful lot of, so you definitely need your paper snips for this card because there's a lot of fussy cutting with those sunflowers. Now, if you'll look, the individual planks have just kind of these darker ridges in between. And you don't have to do this, but I really liked the look of just kind of wedging out, look at that, wedging out little triangles just between those. Close this ink real quick. I'll move it off the side. Okay. Just really, I think, makes it look more fence-like. Now, I'll do this kind of fast, but I mean, if you want to spend more time and make them more even triangles, you can. But I think it just kind of helps it pop a little bit more. So do that real quick. So there you have the fence, all freshly trimmed. Now what I like to go ahead and do next is just take that Early Espresso and just my Stampin' Sponge and just give it a little bit of texture by just going over the edge of where I just cut. It really kind of makes those cuts pop, I feel. Just kind of give that fence a little weathered texture. So just hitting the edges. And then I like to do just a couple spots just here and there. Hopefully I'm not shaking the camera too much. Just on that fence. I think it just kind of, it really brings it a little to life more. But personal preference, I mean, you don't have to sponge it. I just think it looks cool. There you go. more texture to that fence. And I do apologize, there's yard work going on in the background. Hopefully the camera does not pick it up, but the show must go on. Alright, so we've got that section done, so we'll move that off to the side. All my little pieces here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is our leaves. Now this is with that wonderful Pear Pizzazz cardstock and this detailed leaf from that set. Now it's going to be a tone on tone, so we're going to be using the same color cardstock, so the Pear Pizzazz and the Pear Pizzazz paper and ink. Now when stamping these leaves, it's really best to have that stem pointing to the edge of your paper, so just like that. It'll be easier when you line up your punch, which I'll show you. So we'll take the punch, we'll flip it, open it up, and slide it in, and you can see you can line it right up with the image and be able to get a nice, clean cut leaf, just like that. So for this card, I want to say about 9 different leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I did about 8 leaves, but you can do more or less depending on how many you want to do. But that's how you do that step. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to our sunflowers. Move the pear off to the side. So for our sunflowers, I use the Very Vanilla cardstock and also a Pierce mat. It just really helped it get a more clean stamp on there. So yet again, our two colors are the Daffodil Delight and the Crushed Curry. And I really like doing the lighter color, the Daffodil Delight, down first with the whiter design. Now the other tip I want to give you guys is before you even pull the stamp set off the pad, you'll notice, let me see if I can get it to show up. Okay, you'll notice right here the little corners of the stamp have this little corner mark. Yeah, hopefully that's not too reflective. Corner mark. And what I did is I took a Sharpie and I just did a tiny little dot. Sorry, that is so reflective. A tiny little dot just to mark that is where it lined up, so that it would help me with aligning the two on top of each other. Now this is a very abstract stamp set, so it's not made to be, you know, absolutely perfect. But if lining it up is going to be something that might be tricky for you, I definitely recommend doing that little tip. So that way I know if my dot is down and to the left, then my other dot needs to be down and to the left as well. So I'm just going to stamp that straight on and straight up. Now they kind of look a little splotchy, but that's okay because they're kind of actually supposed to be. You know, as I said, it's an artsy looking set. Now I'm going to show you in this one. So a couple of my demonstrator friends recommended spinning that card base and stamping again. So I'm going to show you the two different versions, one spun and double stamped and one not, and you can just see which one you prefer. Now when lining it up, it's easier to line up with the center, I've discovered. Okay, so there's one just single, one that's double. Now we're going to go ahead and take our Crushed Curry, our darker yellow, and that stamp, and see yet again I got that little tiny black dot to remind me. So we're going to go ahead and stamp that, and we're going to line up just that center and stamp it right on top. So you can see kind of an artsy looking sunflower, not perfect. Do the same thing on this one. There we go. So the two-tone is a little darker with the leaves, but I think the top pattern shows up better with just a single stamp. But just personal preference on that. I know it does look a little blotchy, but you know, it's artsy. It's supposed to be blotchy. All right, so then moving on, we're going to go ahead and stamp our center. Now, there's this really nice solid center right here, and for that we are also going to be using the crumb cake. Now, I've got Post-it notes everywhere here. Let me move some of these out of the way. Okay, using the crumb cake and just this nice little circle. You can just kind of line it up and stamp it straight in the middle, just like that. And I really do feel like the center does kind of complete it. There you go. So we have our sunflowers. So yet again, a whole bunch of different ways and patterns that you can do the sunflower. The double stamping does make the leaves look darker, but they're all very artsy. So for this card, I ended up doing 9 different sunflowers. Now you could do more or less, but that's just kind of a rough idea of how many I did for this one. All right, so after you have your sunflowers stamped, there it is. What I did is I just took my scissors and just fussy cut around. Now, because they're sunflowers and they're kind of wild, I just did a lot of just little triangles. You don't have to be exact with it. The edge is not as super defined as some of the other stamps, so it's a little forgiving with the fussy cutting. Okay. Now let's go ahead and stamp our sentiments real quick and just have those good to go. The yellow out of the way. So for that, yet again, those measurements are the 1.5 by 2.5 and 1.5 by 2. So the I'm Thankful for You is going to be on the longer one. And for both of these, we're using the Pear Pizzazz yet again. And what's really nice about these photopolymers is you can line it up and see exactly where you're stamping. So I can take it and center it perfectly straight down, just like that. Then our other one, it's a little snug on this size, but it does fit. But thanks to that photopolymer, I can line it straight up and press it down. Go. Ta-da! Move those off to the side. All right, and then to kind of add to that weathered fence texture, what I like to do is go ahead and take that crumb cake and just sponge the edge of my sentiments. I think it really kind of adds to that look. Just giving it just a little bit of sponge all the way around. Just like that. So now we have our sentiments done, we've got our fence done, and hopefully you have gone ahead and paused the video to pre-stamp and cut a bunch of sunflowers and leaves so you are ready to go for the next step. Move these off to the side. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, don't need our pierce mat anymore, and take our card base in that Dapper Denim. Okay, we've got our score marks yet again. And we've got our fence. So here we go. So we've got our fence and we've got our background. Now for the fence, we want to make sure that the longer section, the 5.5 section, is to the left and the smaller sections are to the right. So we're going to fold it back and forward, just like that. If you want to hit it with your bone folder to kind of make sure it's got a nice sharp crease, that's not a bad idea. So I've got kind of that look going for us. Yeah, let's see that off to the side. And then we're going to go ahead and fold our base. Now this has got the smaller section to the left, the two smaller sections, and the bigger section to the right. So we're going to fold back and then up. So it's going to look like that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and hit it with that bone folder again. Go. So we've got it looking like that. Okay. Now we're going to go take our fence and attach it to our background. And you can see, because it's the same size, it will fit corner to corner, and you should have a nice little square in the center if you did it right. So corner to corner. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my multi-purpose liquid glue and just go ahead and give that a little glue down. So bigger section down first. Just line up edge to edge. And then we're going to move over to the smaller flap. Do the same thing, lining it up edge to edge. Just like that. So we have our base with the fence. Alright, next thing I want to go ahead and do, move this over so you can see as we work, okay, is go ahead and add some of these leaves and stick our sentiments down. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick a leaf there and a leaf here-ish and just start slowly building on that card. Now if you want, you could throw a dimensional behind this. And actually I'm now noticing that my example looks like it was with Whisper White and not very vanilla. You can kind of tell the difference. But you could do either paper cardstock colors. So we're just going to glue that on top. Very thankful for you. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my other one. You can see that. There we go. That. And it looks like for this one I went ahead and I used some dimensionals. Now I'm going to do just a few dimensionals on this card as a whole because I don't want it to be too bulky in case I want to mail it to somebody. You do have to kind of watch that with stuff with lots of dimension on it. So just did 2 little dimensionals on there. Took the backings off. We're going to go ahead and stick this down a little lower than the fence so you can still see the edge of that fence. Alright, so we've got our sentiments, and now it's time to start stacking our sunflowers. Now for this first one, I kind of liked having one cut in half, so it's just peeking over the edge and looks like it's kind of hiding. But there's really not a wrong or right way to do this, so I'm just going to kind of lift up the edge a little bit and slide it in. Stick it down. Just like that. Let's take another one and glue it on top. Just like that, and tuck it a little bit. Now you do want to be mindful of that top edge of the card. You don't want it to end up being too high, otherwise it will not fit in your standard envelope. Now if you're hand delivering it, it doesn't matter as much, but you do just kind of need to watch that. Alright, I'm going to tuck a leaf underneath there. So just a lot of layering and tucking. Okay, just like that. Right now we're going to kind of keep going down the fence line and tuck another sunflower behind. If you're tucking it behind, you don't need to glue the whole thing. We're just going to glue the little edge that is going to be touching the fence. So just like right there. Okay. And then I'm going to stick another one with just a single dimensional on top of that corner. Just like that. Careful not to cover up my words. Go. We're just going to keep building all the way around. Now, if you want to add some extra dimension between your flowers, you can do some dimensionals behind. And we'll do one with this one, and it'll look like it's kind of further behind the crowd. So just stick it on the edge. The mini dimensionals will be a little easier with this particular one, but okay, we're sticking on the edge, and we're just going to kind of tuck it behind and press it. So we didn't even need a whole sunflower to kind of give that little extra bit of definition. All right, I'm going to scoot it over here and do another one right there. Now you do need to be mindful of your folds. So see, there's this fold right here. I do want to glue it so that when I close it, it'll still fold and not bend a flower in half. That kind of kills the effect if you've got bent flowers. All right, and then we're gonna do another one. Actually, I'm gonna do this one here. I like that one there. Just kind of tuck it a little bit under that sentiment. And then we just got our last one for right here on this side, and I think I may do a dimensional on this one too. Just turn and press, just like that. And then all that's left is just to add some of those leaves here, there, and yonder, just to kind of fill it out. So you don't really have to worry about the thin stem. If you just hit a little glue on those wider leaves, you're pretty good to go. Okay. Let's stick this last one right over here. Maybe tuck it in the fence. There we go. So there you have it, a really fun and simple Z-fold card using the new Painted Harvest stamp set. Hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you guys next week.